I never thought I'd find myself in this position. A divorce after 27 years of marriage felt like a plot twist in a bad novel. My name is Jack Thompson, a 50-year-old man living in sunny San Diego, California. I've dedicated my life to my family and my career. I thought I knew everything there was to know about trust, love, and fidelity. But here I am, faced with the harsh reality that my wife, Sarah, has betrayed me in the worst possible way. We had a seemingly perfect life together. 3 children, David, our 25-year-old son, and our 2 daughters, Emily, who is 20, and little Lily, only 5 years old. I was proud of my family and my achievements. I owned a successful tech company that I had built from the ground up, and Sarah was my partner in every sense. She was beautiful, intelligent, and the love of my life. We had our ups and downs, but I always believed we would weather any storm together. But the summer of last year was to be a celebration, a milestone marking our 27th wedding anniversary. I had planned a romantic getaway to Cyprus, a chance to reconnect and rekindle the flame that had brought us together so many years ago. Little did I know that the biggest storm was brewing beneath the surface, and it would hit me like a freight train. That February, I received news that felt like a punch to the gut. An anonymous tip led me to discover that Sarah was having an affair with a coworker, a man named Brian who was 6 years her junior. At first, I couldn't comprehend it. How could she do this to me? To us? I thought back to the corporate party they had attended just before the new year, the looks they exchanged, the laughter that lingered in the air. It was all a facade, and I was the fool left standing in the rain. The details of their affair were sordid. The first intimate encounter had taken place in his office during a corporate event, captured on a mobile phone by someone who had a grudge against her. The video was sent to me anonymously, a cruel gift that shattered my heart into a million irreparable pieces. I felt rage boiling inside me, and for a moment, I envisioned confronting Sarah, hurling accusations and insults. But deep down, I knew that wouldn't solve anything. Instead, I chose a different path. I withdrew into myself, pretending everything was normal while I started to formulate a plan. I refused to let her betrayal destroy me completely. I focused on my company, my children, and the life I had built. I began to liquidate assets discreetly, selling my car under the pretense of upgrading and then convincing Sarah to sell hers as well. She had no idea that I was slowly stripping away our joint financial foundation, preparing for a divorce I knew was inevitable. I threw myself into work. The isolation of the pandemic had inadvertently given me the perfect cover. I sent all my employees home, claiming it was necessary for the company's survival. I paid their salaries one last time, then began the painful process of firing them. My heart ached for those who depended on me, but I had to think of my future, and my children's future. In the meantime, I registered a new company in my mother's name, a clever ruse that would shield my assets from Sarah. She was oblivious, eagerly waiting for the cool new car I had promised. As the days turned into weeks, I felt a strange sense of control amidst the chaos. I had a plan, and I was sticking to it. But as April approached, I noticed Sarah becoming more anxious. She sensed the distance between us, her eyes searching for answers in my expression. I could see the confusion and fear etched into her features, and a part of me felt guilty. But I reminded myself of the betrayal that had brought us to this point. I had to stay strong, not just for myself, but for our daughters. As the end of April rolled around, our conversations became more strained. She would ask why I was so distant, why I wouldn't kiss her goodnight, and I could see the cracks forming in the facade of our marriage. I felt a pang of sorrow for our little Lily, who was blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. I loved all my children, but Lily, being the youngest, had a special place in my heart. She was our last child, our little miracle, and the thought of her growing up in a broken family tore at me. Then came the day when everything changed. Sarah and I sat down for a conversation, and I could see the fear in her eyes. She must have sensed something was off. My heart raced as I pulled out my phone, the video still fresh in my mind. I knew this was the moment of truth. I had to show her the evidence of her betrayal, to confront her with the reality of what she had done. But as I sat there, my hands trembling, I wondered, would this destroy her? Would it destroy me? I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my decision pressing down on me like an anchor. Sarah sat across from me, her expression a mix of worry and determination. I could see her mind racing, trying to piece together the puzzle of my sudden emotional withdrawal. The air was thick with unspoken words and unresolved tension, and I knew that one way or another, we were about to cross a threshold that neither of us could uncross. "Jack, please talk to me. You've been so distant lately," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Is it work? Is something wrong?" I hesitated, the video burning a hole in my pocket. The evidence of her infidelity weighed heavily on my conscience, and the thought of revealing it made my stomach churn. I wanted to scream, to rail against the injustice of it all, but instead, I found myself trapped in a web of my own making. "Sarah," I finally said, my voice low but steady. "There's something we need to discuss. Something important." Her eyes widened, and I could see the flicker of fear in them. "What is it?" "You're scaring me." I pulled out my phone, my hands shaking slightly as I navigated to the video. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks, a mix of anger and sorrow bubbling to the surface. "I saw something," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Something I wish I hadn't." "What do you mean?" she asked, confusion etched across her face. "What are you talking about?" I pressed play, the screen illuminating her features as the video began to unfold. The sound of her laughter echoed in the room, and I felt a visceral reaction as the reality of her betrayal played out before me. I watched her smile, the way she leaned into Brian, the intimacy of their shared moment, and I felt my heart shatter all over again. "Jack, no, please," she exclaimed, her face paling as she registered what was happening. "This isn't what it looks like." But it was exactly what it looked like. I could see the panic rising in her eyes, the realization that the facade she had built was crumbling around her. The laughter that had once filled our home now felt like a cruel joke. "You're right," I said, my voice cold. "It's exactly what it looks like. You betrayed me, Sarah. You betrayed our family. All those years, and for what? For a moment of weakness with someone who doesn't even compare to what we had." Tears streamed down her cheeks, and I felt a pang of regret. But there was no going back now. She had made her choice, and I had to face the consequences of mine. "Jack, I'm so sorry," she sobbed, her hands trembling as she reached for me. "I never wanted to hurt you. It was a mistake, a stupid mistake. I love you. I've always loved you." "Love?" I spat, bitterness flooding my senses. "You call that love? You threw away everything we built together for a fling, and now you expect me to believe that you still love me?" "I made a terrible mistake, I know that," she cried, desperation lacing her words. "We were drifting apart, and I didn't know how to handle it. I thought I was going to lose you anyway, and I panicked." Her words struck a chord within me. I had felt the distance growing too, the slow unraveling of our connection. But that didn't excuse her betrayal. "So you thought cheating was the answer?" I asked, my voice steady but laced with pain. "You thought that would fix our marriage?" "I don't know," she shouted, frustration boiling over. "I was lost, Jack. I didn't know how to talk to you about what I was feeling. I thought I could fix things on my own, but I only made it worse." The air between us crackled with emotion, a mixture of anger, sadness, and confusion. I felt like a stranger in my own life, grappling with the reality that the woman I had loved for nearly 3 decades had chosen to betray me. "I need time," I said finally, my voice firm despite the turmoil inside. "I can't do this right now. I need to think about what's next." "Jack, please don't leave me," she pleaded, her voice breaking. "I'll do anything to fix this. I'll go to counseling, I'll make changes, just don't walk away. I looked at her, and for the first time, I truly saw her. The woman I had married, the mother of my children, and the person who had shattered my trust in the most profound way. You've already walked away, Sarah, I replied quietly. I just need to figure out if there's anything left for me to come back to. As I stood up to leave, I felt as if I were walking out of my own life. The pain of this moment would echo through the years to come, but I knew I had to take control. I had spent too long living in the shadow of her choices. Now it was my turn to decide my fate. With a heavy heart, I stepped into the hallway, the weight of the world on my shoulders. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear, the shattered illusion of our marriage would never be mended. I was no longer just Jack Thompson, I was a man on the brink of a new beginning. The door clicked shut behind me, a finality that reverberated in the silence of the hallway. I leaned against the wall, letting my head fall back as I tried to catch my breath. My heart raced, thrumming like a wild drum in my chest. Each pulse a reminder of the betrayal that had just unfolded, each beat a painful reminder of the life I thought I had. I walked slowly to my car, my mind swirling with memories of laughter, family dinners, and shared dreams that now felt tainted. The weight of the video pressed against my thigh, and I could almost hear Sarah's pleas echoing in my ears. I'll do anything, she had said, but the truth was that nothing could undo what had been done. As I sat behind the wheel, the familiar scent of leather and the faint whiff of gasoline brought back a flood of bittersweet memories. I closed my eyes and inhaled deeply, trying to ground myself. I needed a plan, a way to navigate the uncertain waters ahead. The immediate impulse was to call my best friend, Mark, but I hesitated. What would I even say? Hey, I just found out my wife cheated on me. The words felt foreign, like an alien tongue. Instead, I drove aimlessly, each turn taking me further from the life I had known. I turned on the radio, letting the soft music wash over me, but the lyrics felt hollow against the backdrop of my turmoil. I needed to escape, if only for a moment, from the reality that was crashing down around me. After what felt like hours, I found myself at the edge of the lake we used to visit as a family. It was a place of peace, where we'd shared countless afternoons picnicking and watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink. I parked the car and stepped out, the cool breeze brushing against my skin as I made my way to the water's edge. I sat on a weathered bench, the wood rough against my palms, and stared out at the rippling surface of the lake. Reflections danced on the water, shimmering like the memories of happier times. I thought of our children, how they would be affected by this fracture in their family. The thought twisted my heart, and I fought back the tears that threatened to spill. Dad? A small voice broke through my reverie. I turned to see Lily, my youngest, standing a few feet away. She must have sensed my absence, her innocent eyes filled with concern. Are you okay? I forced a smile, but it felt more like a grimace. I'm fine, sweetheart. Just needed some fresh air. Can I sit with you? She asked, her voice laced with the sweetness of childhood innocence. Of course, I replied, patting the space beside me. As she settled in, the warmth of her small body against mine provided a fleeting comfort. I wrapped an arm around her, holding her close, feeling the weight of my sorrow lift just a fraction. Are you sad? She asked, her big eyes searching mine. I hesitated, unsure of how to answer. Sometimes grown-ups have hard days, but it's okay, I said finally. I'm just thinking about some things. Like what? She pressed, not one to let go easily. Just, things at home. You know how sometimes things can get a little messy. I said, trying to navigate the complexities of adult emotions without burdening her with more than she could understand. She nodded solemnly, her brow furrowed with the seriousness of the conversation. I don't like messy things. Can we fix them? Her question pierced through my heart. I wanted nothing more than to reassure her that everything would be okay, that our family would be whole again. But the truth was more complicated than that. Sometimes, sweetie, fixing things takes time," I said softly. "But we can try our best, and that's what matters." As we sat together, watching the sun dip below the horizon, I felt a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. I couldn't change what had happened, but I could choose how to move forward. I could work to ensure that my children felt loved and secure, no matter what the future held for Sarah and me. The evening air grew cooler, and Lily leaned against me, her small frame a comfort as we watched the stars begin to punctuate the darkening sky. I breathed in deeply, grounding myself in the moment. I would face the coming storm, but I would do it for them. I would fight to protect the family that still existed, even if the definition of that family was about to change. "Can we come here again tomorrow?" Lily asked, her voice a soft whisper against the backdrop of the night. "Of course, kiddo. We can make it our special place," I replied, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. As we made our way back to the car, I realized that while my life felt fractured, it wasn't over. I had the power to redefine my path, to build something new from the ashes of my old life. And that journey, however daunting, was one I would not face alone. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of birds chirping outside my window, their morning serenade a stark contrast to the storm brewing in my heart. I rolled over, glancing at the empty space beside me where Sarah used to lie. The weight of the previous day hung heavily in the air, but the warmth of Lily's presence from the night before lingered like a warm embrace. As I got out of bed, I made a mental note: today would be different. I needed to take small steps toward reclaiming my life, not just for me, but for my children. I could no longer wallow in the shadows of betrayal. I had to face the day with purpose. After breakfast, I decided to tackle the first item on my list: reaching out to Mark. I picked up my phone, my hands trembling slightly as I hovered over his name. I had always leaned on him during tough times, but this felt different. How could I explain the mess I found myself in? I took a deep breath and pressed call. The phone rang only once before he picked up. "Hey, man. You sound like you could use a coffee. Want to meet at that little cafe?" "Yeah, I'd like that," I replied, my voice steadier than I expected. "Give me an hour." After a quick shower and a change of clothes, I made my way to the cafe. The familiar aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloped me as soon as I stepped inside. I spotted Mark at a corner table, his warm smile instantly easing some of my tension. "Hey. Over here," he waved, his enthusiasm a stark contrast to my inner turmoil. As I approached, he stood and pulled me into a bear hug. "It's been a while. How are you doing?" I took a moment, the truth weighing heavily on my tongue. "Not great, actually." I settled into a chair, my hands wrapped around the warm mug that the barista had just set down in front of me. "I found out Sarah, she cheated on me." Mark's expression shifted from jovial to serious in an instant. "Oh, man. I'm so sorry to hear that." He leaned in closer, his voice lowered. "What happened?" I recounted the events of the last 24 hours, the discovery of the video, Sarah's desperate pleas, and my subsequent escape to the lake. Mark listened intently, nodding in understanding. "Have you talked to her since?" he asked once I had finished. "No, I don't even know what to say," I admitted, frustration creeping into my voice. "I feel so lost." Mark took a sip of his coffee, gathering his thoughts. "I can't pretend to know how you feel, but perhaps it's worth having a conversation. You deserve to know why this happened, and you need to figure out what you want moving forward." His words resonated with me, echoing the thoughts I had been too afraid to voice. "You're right. I can't just avoid her forever." "Exactly. It's going to be hard, but you're stronger than you think. And remember, you're not alone in this. I'm here for you." I felt a swell of gratitude for Mark's unwavering support. "Thanks, man. I really appreciate it." After our coffee, we decided to take a walk around the nearby park. The sun shone brightly, illuminating the vibrant colors of autumn leaves that crunched underfoot. With each step, I felt a little lighter, as if the weight of my worries was momentarily lifted by the beauty around me. As we walked, Mark shared stories of his own struggles, and I found solace in knowing that everyone faces their own demons. It reminded me that vulnerability is a shared human experience, one that can forge stronger connections when embraced. When I returned home, I found Lily playing with her dolls on the living room floor. Her laughter filled the house, a sound I cherished amidst the chaos. I knelt beside her, joining in her imaginative world. "What adventures are we going on today?" I asked, my heart swelling with love. "An adventure to the castle," she declared, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Lead the way, princess," I said, allowing myself to be swept away by her infectious joy. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself gradually adapting to this new reality. I met with Sarah, and though it was painful, we talked, really talked, about everything. The hurt, the betrayal, the uncertainty of our future. It wasn't easy, but it was a necessary step toward healing, both for myself and for our children. I also began to carve out time for myself. I started running again, letting the rhythm of my feet against the pavement clear my mind. I enrolled in a local art class, rediscovering the joy of painting that had long been buried beneath the weight of adulthood. I learned to embrace the messiness of life, the unpredictability that often accompanies change. I still had moments of sadness, lingering echoes of what was lost, but I also found moments of joy, laughter, and connection. My children became my anchor, reminding me of the love that still existed within our family, despite the fractures. And as the first snow began to fall, blanketing the chaos in a serene layer of white, I realized that while the past would always be a part of me, it didn't have to define my future. I had the power to create new beginnings, to build a life filled with love, resilience, and hope. With each new day, I found strength in moving forward, knowing that no matter where life took me, I would carry the warmth of my children's laughter in my heart, guiding me through the storms ahead. With spring in full bloom, the world transformed beautifully before my eyes. The days grew longer, the sun hung higher in the sky, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of blossoms. Each morning, as the sunlight filtered through the curtains, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. One bright Saturday morning, I decided it was time to take the kids on a little adventure. With a picnic basket packed with sandwiches, fruit, and Lily's favorite cookies, we set out to explore a nearby nature reserve. The anticipation bubbled within us as we drove, the car filled with laughter and the sounds of our favorite songs. Upon arrival, we were greeted by a symphony of birds chirping and the gentle rustling of leaves in the breeze. I watched as Lily and her younger brother, Max, rushed ahead, their small feet crunching against the gravel path. Their laughter echoed through the trees, amplifying the joy of the moment. As we wandered deeper into the reserve, we discovered a hidden clearing, where a small stream trickled over smooth stones. It was the perfect spot for our picnic. We spread out the blanket and sat together, sharing stories and enjoying the simple pleasure of each other's company. "Daddy, can we build a dam?" Lily asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Great idea," I replied, feeling a sense of nostalgia wash over me. It reminded me of my childhood, when I would spend hours constructing tiny fortresses with friends. We spent the next hour collecting sticks and stones, working together as a team. I marveled at how quickly they grasped the concept, their creativity flowing as they built and rebuilt their dam in the stream. Watching them immerse themselves in play, I felt a surge of gratitude for these moments, understanding that they were the foundation of our new beginning. After our dam was complete, we settled back on the blanket, exhausted but happy. As I watched the water flow gently around our creation, I reflected on the parallels to my life. Just as the stream flowed around the obstacles we had placed in its path, I too was learning to navigate the twists and turns of my journey. As the afternoon sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden hue over the landscape, I pulled out my guitar from the car. A spontaneous idea struck me, and I began to strum a few chords. Lily and Max looked up at me, their faces lighting up with delight. "Sing, Daddy," they chorused, their voices filled with enthusiasm. I began to sing a simple song about nature and adventure, and soon they joined in, their voices harmonizing with mine. It was a moment of pure joy, one that reminded me of the power of music to connect us. In that instant, I felt the weight of my past lift, leaving behind only the love and laughter that filled my heart. As the sun began to set, casting vibrant shades of orange and pink across the sky, I captured the moment in my mind. It was a snapshot of happiness, a reminder that life, with all its complexities, could still be beautiful. On our way home, I reflected on how far I had come. The journey of embracing change had not been easy, but it had led me to a deeper understanding of myself and my relationships. I felt hopeful about what lay ahead, ready to face the challenges of co-parenting with Sarah and nurturing the bond with my children. In the weeks that followed, I continued to explore new activities with Lily and Max. We planted a small vegetable garden in our backyard, tending to it together as a family. Each seed we planted symbolized the growth we were all experiencing, and I found joy in teaching them about patience and the rewards of hard work. One evening, as I tucked the kids into bed, Max looked up at me with wide eyes and asked, "Daddy, are we going to be happy forever?" I paused for a moment, considering his question. "Happiness comes and goes, buddy. But if we keep loving each other and making memories, we can always find joy in the little things." He nodded, a satisfied smile spreading across his face. I kissed him goodnight and turned to leave the room, my heart swelling with love for my children. As I walked down the hallway, I felt a sense of clarity settle within me. I no longer felt shackled by the past, instead, I was learning to embrace the present and approach the future with hope. I had discovered that change was not something to fear, but rather an opportunity for growth and renewal. In the days that followed, I continued to paint, capturing the beauty of spring on canvas. Each stroke became an expression of my journey, one of resilience, love, and the promise of new beginnings. And so, as I stood before my easel one evening, brush in hand, I felt a profound sense of peace wash over me. I was not just an artist creating a painting, I was also the architect of my life, ready to build a future filled with love, laughter, and endless possibilities. With each passing day, I embraced the dawn of a new chapter, knowing that whatever challenges lay ahead, I had the strength to face them. Together with my children, I stepped into the light, eager to discover all the beauty life had yet to offer. As spring transitioned into summer, the days grew warmer and the nights longer. Our little vegetable garden flourished, vibrant greens and bursts of color spilling over the borders. Each morning, the kids and I would rush outside, eager to see what new surprises awaited us. Tomatoes, cucumbers, and even a few sunflowers danced in the gentle breeze, each plant a testament to our hard work and dedication. One sunny Saturday, we decided to host a small gathering with friends and family to celebrate our garden's bounty. I wanted to share not just the fruits of our labor but also the sense of joy and community that had blossomed during this season of change. I called Sarah and extended an invitation, hoping she would join us for the day with the kids. To my delight, she agreed. As the day approached, I felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Having Sarah there would mean we had to navigate the delicate balance of co-parenting, but I was determined to make it a positive experience for the children. The day of the gathering arrived, and our backyard transformed into a lively space filled with laughter, chatter, and the tantalizing aroma of grilled vegetables and fresh fruit. Friends and family mingled, the atmosphere warm and welcoming. I caught sight of Lily and Max, their faces beaming as they played with their cousins, their laughter ringing like music in the air. When Sarah arrived, I greeted her with a genuine smile. She looked relaxed, and we exchanged pleasantries as we both fell into the rhythm of the day. We worked side by side, grilling veggies and preparing salads, our interactions marked by a newfound respect and understanding. It felt refreshing, like a weight had been lifted. As the sun began to dip low in the sky, we gathered around the picnic table, plates filled with our culinary creations. I raised a glass, inviting everyone to join me in a toast. To new beginnings and the love that binds us, I declared, feeling a swell of emotion. And to the memories we continue to create together. Everyone clinked their glasses, echoing my sentiments. I caught a glimpse of Sarah from across the table, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of camaraderie. Though our paths had diverged, we were united in our love for our children, and that connection was powerful. As the evening unfolded, we shared stories, laughter, and even a few tears. The kids, in their innocent exuberance, ran around, playing tag and making silly faces. It was a beautiful reminder of the joy that comes from simply being together. Later, as the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, I took a moment to step away from the festivities. I found a quiet spot in the backyard, leaning back against a tree as I watched the flickering fireflies dance in the dusk. My heart swelled with gratitude. I was witnessing the fruits of my labor, not just in the garden, but in the relationships I was nurturing. In that moment of solitude, I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. The challenges I had faced, the mistakes I had made, and the lessons I had learned all led to this point of acceptance and love. I felt a profound sense of peace. As the gathering drew to a close and the last of our guests departed, I helped the kids clean up. Lily, her cheeks still flushed from the excitement, looked up at me and said, "Daddy, that was the best day ever." "I'm glad you had fun, sweetheart," I replied, pulling her in for a hug. Days like these remind us how special our family is, no matter how it looks. Max chimed in, "Can we do it again next weekend?" I chuckled, "If we keep growing our garden, we might have even more to share. Let's make it a tradition." That night, as I tucked the kids into bed, I felt a renewed sense of hope. I realized that while the road ahead would undoubtedly have its bumps, I was no longer afraid of the journey. I was ready to embrace it, hand in hand with my children and the people who loved us. In the weeks that followed, I found myself more engaged in my art. Each painting became a celebration of life, of family, of love, and of the beauty found in everyday moments. I began to experiment with new styles and techniques, letting my emotions flow freely onto the canvas. The act of creation became a form of therapy, healing old wounds and allowing me to express my journey in vibrant colors. As summer progressed, I noticed changes in myself. The weight of the past felt lighter, and I was more present with my children. I made it a point to listen, to really listen, when they spoke of their day or shared their dreams. Each conversation became a thread in the fabric of our relationship, weaving a tapestry of trust and understanding. One evening, while we were painting together in the backyard, Lily turned to me and said, "Daddy, I want to be an artist like you when I grow up." My heart swelled with pride. "You can be anything you want to be, Lily. Just remember to paint your own story." As summer waned and the leaves began to turn, I felt a sense of fulfillment. We had created a haven of love and laughter, a safe space where the past no longer haunted us. With each passing day, I embraced the journey ahead, knowing that every step we took was a brushstroke in the masterpiece of our lives. And so, I stood before my easel one crisp autumn evening, ready to capture another moment, another emotion. With the cool breeze carrying the scent of change, I smiled, ready to paint the next chapter of our story, one filled with hope, resilience, and the promise of endless possibilities. As autumn deepened, the world around us transformed into a palette of warm hues, rich oranges, deep reds, and golden yellows. Our garden, now a riot of color, reflected the changes occurring within me and my family. We harvested the last of our vegetables, filling baskets with pumpkins, squash, and the final few tomatoes. Each harvest felt like a celebration, a reward for our efforts and a reminder of the journey we had undertaken together. One Saturday morning, I decided it was time for a family adventure. Inspired by the beauty of autumn, I gathered Lily and Max and proposed a trip to a nearby apple orchard. Their eyes lit up with excitement, and I could hardly contain my own enthusiasm as I envisioned us picking apples, laughing, and making memories together. The day was perfect, crisp and clear with a bright blue sky overhead. As we arrived at the orchard, the scent of ripe apples hung sweetly in the air. We wandered through rows of trees, each laden with fruit, the branches bending under the weight of our potential harvest. I watched as the kids raced ahead, their giggles echoing among the trees. "Look, Daddy! This one is the biggest!" Lily shouted, holding up a shiny red apple that gleamed in the sunlight. Max joined her, his arms full of apples, each one carefully selected as if it were a treasure. We spent hours picking apples, our baskets growing heavier with each passing moment. We shared stories, played games, and even took turns climbing the trees to reach the ripest fruit. It felt like a scene from a storybook, one filled with laughter and joy. As we sat down for a picnic amidst the trees, I marveled at how far we had come. These moments were the stitches in the fabric of our lives, binding us closer together. After our picnic, we decided to explore a nearby pumpkin patch. The kids raced ahead, their laughter a sweet melody as they navigated the maze of pumpkins. We picked out 2 large pumpkins, one for each child, and I couldn't wait to carve them together. The thought of creating something beautiful out of something so ordinary filled me with joy. Back at home, we set up a carving station in the backyard. As we scooped out the insides of the pumpkins, the kids giggled at the gooey mess, their hands coated in stringy pulp. I helped them draw faces on the pumpkins, and together we transformed them into whimsical jack-o'-lanterns. Each cut and scrape was filled with laughter, and I felt a warmth spread through me, a sense of belonging and love. That evening, as the sun began to set, we lit the candles inside the pumpkins, their flickering glow casting playful shadows against the fence. We sat together, admiring our handiwork, and I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. These were the moments I had longed for, the simple joys that made life beautiful. As the days grew shorter and the nights cooler, I found myself reflecting on the changes that had taken place within me. The journey of co-parenting with Sarah had flourished into a partnership rooted in mutual respect. We communicated openly, discussing the kids' needs and celebrating their achievements together. The walls that had once divided us were slowly crumbling, replaced by a shared commitment to our children's happiness. One evening, after the kids had gone to bed, Sarah and I sat on the porch, a warm drink in hand. The night was quiet, the stars twinkling above us in a blanket of darkness. We spoke about our experiences, our dreams for the future, and the challenges we had faced. There was a comfort in our conversation, a sense of understanding that had been absent before. "I never thought we'd get to this point," she admitted, a soft smile on her face. "But I'm grateful we have." "Me too," I replied. "It's been a journey, but the kids are our priority, and they deserve the best from us." As we shared that moment, I realized how much I had grown. The pain of the past no longer held me captive, instead, it fueled my desire to create a better future for my children. I was no longer just a parent navigating a difficult situation, I was a father embracing the beauty of change. With each passing day, I painted my emotions onto the canvas, capturing our family's journey in vibrant colors. I experimented with new techniques, blending hues to reflect the complexity of our experiences. Each stroke was a release, a way to honor the past while celebrating the present. As Halloween approached, the anticipation in our household grew. The kids buzzed with excitement, planning their costumes and debating which houses to trick-or-treat at. I was filled with joy watching them, their innocent enthusiasm a reminder of the magic of childhood. On Halloween night, we donned our costumes and set out into the neighborhood, a parade of happiness. I watched as Lily transformed into a sparkling fairy, her wings fluttering as she danced down the sidewalk. Max, dressed as a brave knight, held his sword high, ready to defend his sister from imaginary dragons. As we collected candy, I felt a sense of contentment wash over me. This was what family meant: togetherness, laughter, and the freedom to be ourselves. Later that evening, after our candy haul was safely stashed away, we gathered in the living room to share stories and enjoy a cozy movie night. Snuggled under blankets, the warmth of our love enveloped us like a gentle embrace. I glanced at the flickering jack-o'-lanterns, their smiles glowing brightly, and I knew that we were creating a legacy of love. As I tucked the kids into bed that night, I felt an overwhelming sense of hope. The journey ahead would undoubtedly have its challenges, but I was ready to face them with open arms. With every brushstroke of the coming days, would continue to paint our story, one filled with resilience, joy, and endless possibilities. And as I closed the door to their room, I whispered a silent promise to myself: I would cherish every moment, for the colors of our lives were vibrant and alive, and the masterpiece we were creating together was only just beginning. As the last leaves of autumn fell, a crisp chill settled over our town, marking the transition into winter. The days grew shorter, and the air took on a sharpness that invigorated me. It was a season of reflection, a time to gather the warmth of memories made and to prepare for the promise of new beginnings. Our home felt cozier than ever, filled with the scents of cinnamon, pine, and the rich aroma of hearty soups simmering on the stove. One snowy afternoon, I decided it was time for another family adventure. Inspired by the beauty of the first snowfall, I called out to Lily and Max, who were ensconced in their latest art project, creating festive decorations for the upcoming holidays. "How about a snow day?" I suggested, my voice brimming with excitement. Their faces lit up, and within moments, we bundled up in our winter gear: hats, scarves, mittens, and boots. Stepping outside, we were greeted by a magical landscape blanketed in white. The world had transformed into a winter wonderland, and I felt a childlike joy course through me. We made our way to the park, where the hills were alive with laughter and shouts of delight. Max immediately dove into a snowbank, creating a flurry of white powder that sparkled in the sunlight. Lily followed suit, her cheeks flushed with excitement as she built a snowman, complete with a carrot nose and pebble eyes. I joined in the fun, my heart swelling with happiness as we rolled snowballs together, crafting our frosty creation. It was a simple moment, yet it felt monumental. Each laugh shared, each snowball thrown, was a reminder of how far we had come as a family. The cold air was invigorating, and with each breath, I felt the weight of my past lifting slightly, replaced by the warmth of the present. After our snowman was complete, we decided to warm up with hot cocoa at home. As we gathered around the kitchen table, the steam rising from our mugs created a cozy atmosphere. We shared stories of our favorite winter memories, each tale more whimsical than the last. I listened as Lily recounted her adventures from last year's holiday season, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Daddy, remember when we baked cookies for Santa?" she asked, her enthusiasm infectious. "Of course. We made a huge mess, but the cookies turned out delicious," I replied, chuckling at the memory. Max, not to be left out, chimed in, "And we left him milk and carrots for the reindeer." "Yes, we did. This year, let's make it even better," I said, feeling inspired. We began planning our holiday traditions, each idea more imaginative than the last. Decorating the tree, making gingerbread houses, and writing letters to Santa filled our conversations, and I felt a surge of gratitude for the joy these moments brought us. As the weeks passed, the holiday spirit enveloped our home. We transformed our living room into a festive haven, draping lights across the windows and hanging ornaments on the tree. Each decoration held a story, a memory of the love we shared. It was a beautiful tapestry of our experiences, a symbol of our unity. One evening, as we sat together, crafting handmade cards for our friends and family, I found myself reflecting on the journey we had taken. The challenges that had once seemed insurmountable were now distant memories, overshadowed by the laughter and love that filled our days. I realized that change, while often daunting, could lead to something truly beautiful. As Christmas approached, I took time to sit quietly and write down my thoughts. I reflected on the year, the struggles, the victories, and the lessons learned. I felt a deep sense of gratitude for Sarah, who had become not just a co-parent, but a partner in this journey. We had learned to navigate our differences with grace and had found a way to co-create a nurturing environment for our children. On Christmas Eve, we gathered as a family to read our favorite holiday stories. The kids snuggled close, their faces aglow with anticipation. As I read, I looked at their little faces, illuminated by the twinkling lights of the tree, and my heart swelled with love. I was reminded of the magic of the season, the way it brought families together, igniting a spirit of giving and togetherness. That night, as I tucked the kids into bed, I whispered a promise to them. "Tomorrow will be magical," I said, smiling as I kissed their foreheads. I felt a sense of peace wash over me, knowing that the love we shared would carry us through whatever challenges lay ahead. Christmas morning dawned bright and clear, the sun shining through the frost-covered windows. The excitement in the air was palpable as we gathered around the tree, our hearts overflowing with joy. We unwrapped gifts, each one a treasure, but more precious were the moments spent together, laughter, hugs, and the warmth of family. As the day unfolded, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I was not just a father, I was a creator of memories, a weaver of experiences that would shape my children's lives. The colors of change had painted our journey, and with each vibrant stroke, we were crafting a legacy of love, resilience, and hope. With winter settling in, I realized that the journey we were on was far from over. Each season would bring its own challenges and joys, but I was ready to embrace them all. For in the heart of every change lay the promise of growth, and I was committed to nurturing that promise for my children. As I closed my eyes that night, I whispered a silent prayer of gratitude, knowing that the masterpiece we were creating together was only just beginning. The canvas of our lives was vast, and with every brushstroke, we would continue to tell our story, a story filled with love, laughter, and the vibrant colors of our journey together. As winter gradually relinquished its grasp, the first hints of spring began to emerge. The days grew longer, and the air softened, carrying the sweet scent of blooming flowers and fresh earth. It was a season of renewal, a time for fresh starts and new adventures. With the world awakening around us, I felt an exhilarating sense of possibility. One sunny Saturday morning, I gathered Lily and Max in the kitchen, where the sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating our breakfast table. "How about we start a new family project?" I asked, my voice tinged with enthusiasm. Their eyes lit up, intrigued by the idea. "What kind of project, Daddy?" Max asked, his curiosity piqued. I grinned, feeling the excitement bubble up within me. "Let's create a garden. We can plant flowers, vegetables, and herbs. It'll be our little oasis right here at home." Lily clapped her hands in delight. "Can we plant sunflowers? They're my favorite." "Absolutely," I replied, already envisioning the vibrant colors that would soon grace our yard. After breakfast, we headed to the local garden center, where the air was filled with the earthy scent of soil and the cheerful colors of blooming plants. Armed with a cart and a list of our chosen seeds, we wandered through the aisles, picking out everything from sunflower seeds to tomato plants. It was a joyful outing, filled with laughter and shared excitement. Back home, we rolled up our sleeves and set to work, transforming a small patch of our yard into a garden. The kids dug in the dirt, their hands covered in soil, while I taught them how to plant the seeds. "This is how things grow," I explained, demonstrating how to place each seed into the earth. "With love, care, and a little bit of patience." As we worked together, I felt an overwhelming sense of connection, not just to the earth, but to each other. Our garden was becoming a symbol of our family's growth, a testament to the love and effort we poured into our lives. Each seed we planted represented hope for the future, a reminder that even the smallest things could flourish with the right nurturing. As the days turned into weeks, we tended to our garden with care. We watered the plants, pulled weeds, and watched as the first green shoots broke through the soil. The anticipation of seeing our efforts rewarded filled us with joy. It became a daily ritual, a moment of togetherness that deepened our bond. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, I turned to my children. "What do you think our garden will look like when everything grows?" I asked, picturing the colorful blooms and lush vegetables. "It'll be beautiful," Lily exclaimed, her eyes shining with excitement. "It'll be like a treasure." Max added, his imagination running wild. Just like our family, I said softly, feeling a swell of pride. Beautiful and full of treasures. As spring progressed, our garden flourished. Sunflowers stood tall, their golden heads swaying in the breeze, while vibrant tomatoes began to ripen on the vine. We harvested our first crop one sunny afternoon, the fruits of our labor filling our basket with pride. The kids squealed with delight, eager to taste the bounty we had nurtured together. That evening, we prepared a garden feast, showcasing our fresh vegetables. As we sat around the table, enjoying the fruits of our labor, I reflected on how far we had come. Each bite was a reminder of our shared journey, one filled with love, resilience, and the beauty of renewal. With the arrival of spring, I also found myself contemplating the future. I envisioned more family adventures, more moments of laughter, and more memories to cherish. I wanted to instill in Lily and Max the importance of growth, not just in the garden, but in their lives. I wanted them to understand that, like the seeds we had planted, they too could flourish and bloom. As the final days of spring approached, we decided to celebrate our achievements with a family picnic in our garden. We set up a blanket, filled a basket with homemade treats, and invited Sarah to join us. The sun shone brightly, casting a warm glow over our little oasis. As we feasted on sandwiches and fresh fruit, I watched my children play, their laughter ringing through the air. Sarah and I exchanged smiles, our hearts swelling with pride for the family we were building together. In that moment, I knew that despite the challenges we had faced, we had created something beautiful, an unbreakable bond grounded in love and support. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over our garden, I felt a sense of peace envelop me. I took a deep breath, inhaling the fragrant blooms that surrounded us. I was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, knowing that we had the strength to weather any storm. In the heart of our garden, I whispered a silent promise to my children. I would always be there to nurture their dreams, to support their growth, and to celebrate their victories. Together, we would continue to weave our story, one filled with love, laughter, and the vibrant colors of life. With each passing season, I realized that change was not something to fear, but rather an opportunity to embrace. And as spring unfolded into summer, I looked forward to the adventures that awaited us, knowing that our journey was just beginning.